Hi guys, I'm Paul from Lovelogs and this is my process for Neapolitan pizza dough. Maybe you've been making same day pizza dough recipes for a little while now and you've decided you want to go to the next level. This is the dough for you. Making better pizza dough is all about giving it more time. The longer you prove your dough, the more elastic, the easier to work, the more digestible and the better flavour. So my sweet spot for dough is a 24-hour room temperature proof. Let's make it. So first up, flour. You can use supermarket 00 flour, but like anything in life, spend a little bit more and you're going to get a better quality product. For a 24-hour room temperature proof, you want a flour with a protein content of at least 12%. I use instant dry yeast. I've tried fresh yeast, but for me, this is much more consistent and easier to store. Good quality salt. Table salt is okay, but you can notice the flavour when you use a better quality. In terms of equipment, good quality airtight proving bowls. Good quality flexible dough scraper, which allows you to get all of your dough in a bowl, and a decent quality dough cutter. 2 sets of scales. This one measures grams for flour and water, and this one measures grams down to 2 decimal places. This is really important to slow your dough down. I'm using a birch pasta board, but you can do this on your kitchen worktops without a problem. All right, let's get into it. So rather than following a strict recipe, I want you to download something called PizzApp, and I'll put this in the comments. PizzApp allows you to put in the constraints of your specific pizza making, and out of that it'll give you the quantities of your ingredients. So here we've got 4 dough balls at 250 grams each, at 63% hydration and 3% salt, for a 24-hour room temperature proof at 23 degrees C, using instant dry yeast. And at the bottom here you can see our ingredients for the recipe. So first up is to weigh my flour, and in my recipe I need 602 grams. And next up, I'm going to go weigh my water. So that's 379 grams of cold water. Because it's still quite warm outside, my ambient temperature is 23 degrees, cold water is best. That's going to stop my dough from getting too warm, which inhibits my gluten development. Now I'm going to weigh out my yeast and salt using these accurate jeweler scales. So my numbers call for 0.1 grams of yeast. So when you come from using a whole sachet of instant yeast, you can see what a huge difference this is. And my instant yeast is going straight into my flour. And my salt for this amount of dough is 18 grams. So that's 18 grams. I like my dough at 3% salt, but you can drop that to 2% if you prefer. And my salt's going straight into my water, where I'm going to stir and dissolve. So my salt's fully dissolved and we can now start making our dough. My approach is to keep one hand clean and one hand dirty, so I'm going to mix with my right hand. So I'll just quickly mix my yeast in, and then I'm going to add my water about 10% at a time. Just move that around the bowl and start incorporating it with my flour. As you approach the end of this process, the dough is going to start coming together, and with about 10 or 20% of your water left, you might notice it getting a bit sticky. And I'm just using the stickiness of the dough to pull the rest of the flour from the sides of the bowl. And this is where you just need a bit of time for the flour to absorb the last of the water, and it'll be sticky until you work it all through. And the best process I find for this is just to squeeze the flour through. That's going to help it take on all that water. That's the last of our water. And you can see just with that last few percent, the dough has completely changed from a dry mass to a real sort of sticky, gloopy mess. So It's just important you keep working through this. It's going to feel like it's not going to come together, but just give it time and it will do. So we want to minimise waste through this process, so just use your plastic scraper to get all this dough off your fingers. And then we're going to bring the dough together into one large mass. So just scrape down the sides of my bowl. So at this stage we've got a pretty sticky, bit of a glutinous mess really. It's definitely not pizza dough. So we're going to get our lid on and give this 30 minutes just to rest, and we'll come back and see how it's doing. So this dough mass has had a 30-minute rest, and just look at the elasticity we're developing already, and we've done no kneading or stretch and folds for gluten development. So I'm going to get the dough out, I'm going to give it a very quick knead, and then we're going to start a process of stretch and folds, which is how we're going to build strength in our pizza dough. So simple kneading, use the heel of your hand, push away, pull the dough back towards you, turn it through 90 degrees and repeat that process. And as you can see, this is going to start very sticky, but it will come together. I really hate kneading, so I've kneaded for about a minute. I'm going to get all my excess dough up off the bench and start my stretch and folds. So stretch and folds is all about adding strength to your dough, and we're going to do that by aligning the gluten structure within the dough. And there are a couple of ways you can stretch and fold, so I'll show you them both. So the first method is with the dough on the bench. We're going to pick the dough up from the centre, we're going to stretch due to the sticking to the board, we're going to give it a slap and fold over, and we're going to repeat that process. And you quite quickly see the structure of the dough is changing. And after 5 or 6 stretch and folds, we're going to put this back away to continue its bulk proof. So lid on and back again in another 30 minutes. Now there is another method of stretch and folds for higher hydration dough where you don't want to keep getting the dough out on the bench every time, so I'll show you that now. So this is another batch of dough, and the method for stretch and fold is to do that in the bowl. So we're going to pick the dough up on the side of the bowl, stretch and fold into the middle. We'll turn the bowl around and we'll repeat that process. And we're basically using the contact point of the dough on the bottom of the bowl to make those stretches. And once we've worked our way all the way around the bowl, stretch and folds are complete. Put the lid back on. My personal preference for stretch and folds is the first one. It allows me to see the dough and get my hands fully on it to feel how it's developing. So we're 30 minutes after our first set of stretch and folds, and we're back to do another set. So just look at this dough. You can see how the elasticity is developing already. And look how that dough is coming on. So that'll go away now again for another 30 minutes. So we're back 30 minutes later for our third set of stretch and folds. And you can just see that every time you get this dough out, it's getting better and better. And at this point, the dough's getting strong and we're getting less and less tears in the top of the dough. So we'll put this away for another 30 minutes and come back and do our final stretch and folds. Okay, so we've had another 30 minutes and we're on to our fourth and final stretch and fold. So I'm super happy with this dough. It's not sticky, springing back. I can tell it's strong. It's got good gluten strength. So we'll tuck this away now and it'll finish its bulk proof. With the 30-minute rest initially and the 30 minutes between each set of stretch and folds, this dough has now had 2 hours resting time, and that makes up the first 2 hours of the bulk proof. For a 24-hour room temperature proof, I like to bulk proof for 18 hours and then I ball up for the final 6. So this has got another 16 hours to go before we ball up. Hopefully, although this has taken us 2 hours, you can see it's a pretty low work dough. We're coming back and doing very small amounts of work every 30 minutes for a couple of hours. Now we can tuck it away and come back tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a like and make sure to subscribe for the next part of the video where I'm going to show you how to ball up. Cheers.